Overexposing S-Log3 is such an outdated concept. Like with any other camera, we won't be exposing to the right, but why are we doing it with Sony S-Log3? Hey guys, I'm Danny, your friendly neighborhood colorist, and in this video we are going to be looking at whether you should overexpose S-Log3 based on some of the evidence that I've gathered. So the concept of overexposing S-Log actually comes from the older Sony cameras such as the A7 III, where you would shoot in S-Log2 instead of S-Log3. Because S-Log3 in 8-bit doesn't work that well. If you expose it properly in S-Log2, it will come out a bit dim. So this concept has been brought over to S-Log3 in 10-bit, which I don't really approve based on some of the evidence that I see. So let me show you a little experiment that I got with some footage that I shot in Korea. So before we get into anything, I want to establish that right now I am in a 4K or UHD timeline, which is 2160p. And this is important because video noise is more apparent in higher resolution. So compared to a Full HD, which is 1080p, in Ultra HD, you will see more noise. So right now, to show you the full extent, because I shot this in 4K, so I'm going to be working in a UHD or 4K timeline. And another thing that I want to establish is how I expose this S-Log3 footage. So the way I like to expose my S-Log3 is based on this video. You can go and have a look. So I use this technique, which is exposing the subject for +1 if the subject is sort of like a skin tone. So in this video itself, the thing that's closest to a skin tone or the subject is this wall over here. So how I do it is I point my focus point link, which is linked to my multimeter, which is the light meter in your camera. You will see a mm symbol. So I point it to this direction and the result will be up here. So the meter value for this shot, this particular shot right now, is +1.0, which is my recommended way of exposing, because as you can see right now, just with a CST from Sony S-Log3 to Rec. 709, it's exposed perfectly on the dot. So basically, I don't really need to do any color correction at all if I expose it like this. So if I underexpose S-Log3, which looks something like this in log, so the proper expose would be this, and the underexposed is this. So if you underexpose S-Log3, what you get is this compared to, let me put them side by side. Selected clips. So if you underexpose it, there is definitely correction to be done, which takes up some time. So the correction that I did in my primaries was to brighten it up and kill down the shadows a bit. So if I copy these adjustments to a grayscale, what you see is I use my offset to brighten up the whole thing, and then I kill my shadows. Where is it? I kill my shadows to -0.4. So once I've done that, then it will appear more or less like the properly exposed S-Log3. So you can still recover it. If you underexpose it, you will find a bit of noise in this blackest area over here. So there is a bit of video noise compared to the properly exposed, which is pretty clean without any noise reduction, because I haven't turned on this node yet. So Sony cameras has 15 plus stops of marketed dynamic range. So some of you like to overexpose it like this, where the meter is +2 or +2 blinking. So it will look something like this when it's locked, and when it's not, when it's properly exposed, it's like this, overexposed. I have a few issues about overexposing, which I will touch on later, but let's see whether you can recover overexposing S-Log3, which is, yes, you actually can. So this is properly exposed, overexposed, proper, over. So they look 95% similar, I would say, but you will have a lot of work to do in the correction. So in opposed to what I did with the underexposed, I did almost the same thing with the overexposed, which is, let me copy this over to a grayscale. So what I did to the overexposed S-Log3 is to reduce down my offset from 25 to 0.02. and then I lifted up my shadow from 0 to 0.26. So what you get is something like this in curves, right? And in terms of video noise, let's go back to the door over here. You will see that there is very, very minimal noise in the overexposed footage, which is what you guys are going on about, which is there's less noise if you expose it compared to if you properly expose it. Let me zoom in so much. So now, right now it's like 550% zoom in, and you notice there is some noise in this properly exposed, but there's none in the overexposed. So this is what you guys are going on and on about. But if I zoom out to what it looks like, which is the whole image, between the overly exposed and the properly exposed, I'm not even sure which is which. Okay, so this is properly exposed, this is overexposed on your right. Over, proper. Can you see a difference? If I put it to full screen, can you see the difference between the noise level? This is without any noise reduction. Honestly, I don't see any at all. And this is in 4K. So if most of the time what we are outputting is in HD for commercial projects, which is a lower resolution and lower noise, so you don't really get to see an advantage of overexposing S-Log3. And another issue where you overexpose S-Log3 is that you're shooting blindly. So I'm not sure, unless you have a LUT, a monitor LUT, that compensates for that overexposure, and you can shoot exactly overexposed by 0.+2 blinking every single time, you don't really have a gauge of how much to overexpose, because exposing properly, at least there is a gauge. Okay, positive 1.0, this is properly exposed. But overexposing, whether it's positive 1.7 or positive 2.0, or blinking twice or blinking 3 times until it looks like this, there is no gauge to overexposing, which is something that I see most DP having a hard time with S-Log3. So if you overexpose it too much, like in this clip, I go from +2 blinking, which is recoverable, to an overboard 12,800 ISO. If I pull back down the offset, you see that there is loss in data. You don't get that sky color back anymore if I super overexpose it. So in my opinion, this is even riskier than having noise in your footage, which is very easily, let me show you in this underexposed footage, very easily recoverable with some simple noise reduction. So if I turn on my noise reduction, you see that it goes missing without, with. So this is with DaVinci's noise reduction in the motion effects palette, 3 frames with temporal noise reduction, and also a bit of spatial noise reduction. And you don't see the noise at all if you're downscaling the resolution. So I rather blindly add noise reduction to some of the clips that needs it rather than correct every single clip. So if you still don't believe me on properly exposing S-Log3, let me show you an example where I have right now around 50 clips. So okay, there's 89 clips that I shot in Korea. So I just have to throw a CST on one of them. Let's go from Sony. So this is what I have here, which is a properly exposed. And let's just, for example's sake, let's just add some color boost to boost it up a bit. And then let's also increase the gamma a little bit. Okay, so I have my primaries adjustments and my CST. So for this same adjustment, I don't have to do any color correction at all, and I can just paste it on all the clips. So replace active grades, and boom, I have everything properly graded, properly exposed. Whether there is any smaller tweaks that I want to make, I can do them, but I don't have to go clip by clip and adjust for the brightness at all, because they are all in a very nice place already. So I can just focus on color grading instead of doing color correction one by one. So all of them are looking very nice. So even these, so these are tests. These are properly exposed, right? So this is one of the benefits of properly exposing your S-Log3. So that's it for this video. If you still don't agree on properly exposing your S-Log3, you can drop a comment and let me know why. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.